In this video, we will learn about the circulatory system. So, first of all, what is circulatory system? Circulatory system is a system of organs that transport substances around the body. So, circulatory system. A system is a group of organs that work together to perform a function. So, circulatory system carries out the function of transporting substances around the body, and this happens with the help of blood. So why do we need the circulatory system? Each cell in our body needs food and oxygen, and we get this energy from food, and obviously oxygen is required by the cells of the body. To get the energy for the cells of our body, the blood transports all these materials to the cells of our body. So each cell in our body needs food and oxygen in order to get energy. Some cells also need substances such as hormones to control the functions of the cells. And some cells need to remove waste materials such as carbon dioxide and water vapor. So all of these substances need to be removed from our body. And this happens with the help of the circulatory system. The circulatory system picks up nutrients from the digestive system, from the blood, and it takes it in the blood to all the cells in the body. And the circulatory system picks up oxygen from the lungs and takes it in the blood to all the different parts of the body. So that's the transportation of oxygen with the help of circulatory system. And the circulatory system picks up waste from the cells, such as we've mentioned before, carbon dioxide, and carries it in the blood to the lungs and kidneys to be expelled out of the body. So these are some of the reasons why we need circulatory system. So let's talk about blood first. William Harvey was the first to adequately describe the way blood flows around the human body. He was an Englishman born in Folkestone, Kent. Let's look at the functions of the blood first. The main function of the blood is to transport oxygen. Every cell in our body needs oxygen to carry out its function. So oxygen is very required, and this happens with the help of blood. Blood transports oxygen to different parts of the body. Blood transports food. So food gives us energy, and each and every cell in our body needs energy, and they get this with the help of food, and food is transported by the blood. Blood also transports waste materials so that they can be expelled out of the body. And then blood also helps in fighting infections, to fight infection. And it also helps in maintaining the correct temperature for our body. So helps maintain the right temperature in our body. So this is what we call thermoregulation, regulating the correct temperature for our body temperature. So these are the 5 functions of blood. Let's look at the composition of blood now. So blood consists of 2 main parts, formed elements and plasma. Formed elements, and we have plasma. So formed elements are the cells in the blood, and plasma is just the water and proteins. So formed elements consists of 3 different cells, as we know: RBCs, WBCs, and platelets. RBCs are the red blood cells, also known as erythrocytes. WBCs are the white blood cells, also known as leukocytes, platelets, or thrombocytes. So RBCs. Main function of RBC is to carry oxygen around the body. That's what's the main function of the circulatory system in general, to carry oxygen all around the body. WBC, the function is to produce antibodies and fight infection. That's why we said one of the functions of the blood is to help fight infection, and this is done by WBC, produce antibodies. And platelets, they clot blood when the blood vessels are damaged. So red blood cells carry oxygen around the body, and the shape is called biconcave shape, and they don't have a nucleus, so we say that RBCs are enucleated. WBCs, they have nucleus, and there's 5 different types of WBCs based on the size and the number of nucleus. And then platelets, they clot blood when blood vessels are damaged, and these also don't have a nucleus, so we say they're enucleated too. So these are the formed elements. Let's look at plasma now. Plasma mainly consists of water and proteins. So food substances such as glucose, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals are all transported in the plasma. And plasma also helps in maintaining the correct temperature. And that's what we said one of the functions of the blood was, maintaining the right temperature for our body. So this is about the formed elements and plasma. Now let's look at how do the blood cells carry out their function, these 3 blood cells, RBC, WBC, and platelets. First of all, RBCs, the function is to carry oxygen around the body. So how they do this is they have a red colored pigment in RBC, which is known as hemoglobin, and that's what gives the blood its red color. So what happens is when an oxygen molecule enters our body, when we inhale oxygen, the oxygen molecule attaches to the hemoglobin molecule, and then when it enters the red blood cell, the oxygen attaches to hemoglobin, and then it goes to the body cell, and then when it enters or when it reaches the body cell, the oxygen then leaves the hemoglobin, leaves the red blood cell, and enters the body cell. So red blood cells have a red pigment or color called hemoglobin. When oxygen enters the blood, it enters the red blood cells and attaches to the hemoglobin. It then travels in the blood, attaches to the hemoglobin. When the blood arrives at the cells, the oxygen gets released into the cells. That's how RBCs carry out their function. Now, white blood cells. Some white blood cells concern bacteria and other foreign organisms that enter the body. The white blood cells then take the organism into itself, and they engulf the invading organism. So WBCs, as we said, they produce antibodies, and the function of antibodies is to hold the invading organism. So hold the invading organism or the pathogen or the harmful microorganism that is causing the disease. They hold the invading organism, and then once they've held the invading organism, the WBCs produce antibodies, and then these hold the invading organism so that the engulfing cells can capture them. That is, the WBCs can capture the invading organism and engulf them eventually. Platelets. Platelets play an important role in helping to clot blood wherever a blood vessel gets damaged. This clot prevents excessive blood loss, and it prevents microorganisms from entering the body. That's what platelets are used for. So, most types of blood cells are made in the bone marrow. It's a soft substance found in the center of the bone. In adults, it's the long bones of the body along with the ribs and the vertebrae that make the blood. In children, all the bones make the blood. Blood cells, like many other cells in the body, get worn and die. Therefore, the making of new blood cells is necessary. So this is about the blood and the blood cells and the plasma. Now let's take a look at blood vessels. So the function of blood vessels is to carry blood, obviously. The 3 types of blood vessels, we have arteries, veins, and capillaries. So there are 3 types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries have thick walls compared to the veins, and these walls are basically made of muscle. Veins have thin walls, and capillaries are like 1 cell thick. So that means they're tiny blood vessels. So arteries have thick walls that are very strong, they're usually deeper in the body than veins. Veins have thinner walls and they're easier than arteries to damage. Arteries always carry blood away from the heart. Away from the heart. Veins carry blood to the heart. And then we have capillaries, which are extremely narrow blood vessels, which are only 1 cell thick, and their function is to weave in through the organs of the body to deliver substances to the body cells. They also need to take away waste matter. Each cell in the body has a capillary very close to it. So we've seen capillaries in the digestive system and respiratory system, etc. So let's talk about something called as valves. And these are only present in veins and they are not present in arteries. So the function of valve is to prevent the backflow of the blood. So blood will not flow backwards in arteries because the blood is under great pressure from the heart's pumping action. So the reason that arteries don't have a valve is that it's under great pressure from the heart's pumping action. Under great pressure from the heart's pumping action. But the veins do have valves because veins are not under any great pressure from heart's pumping action. So there is a chance of the blood flowing backwards, so they need valves. So now that we've discussed the blood formed elements, plasma, blood vessels in detail, let's take a look at the heart now. So the heart is an organ made up of unique type of muscle known as cardiac muscle. Cardiac is anything related to the heart. Unlike the muscles on the skeleton, those are skeletal muscles, the cardiac muscle never tires. It's approximately the size of a person's clenched fist. Its function is to pump oxygenated blood around the body. Heart's function is to pump. It's the pumping organ, so it pumps oxygenated blood around the body. What is oxygenated blood? Oxygenated blood is the blood that's rich in oxygen. Deoxygenated blood is the exact opposite. It is high in carbon dioxide and it's low in oxygen. It also sends deoxygenated blood to the lungs to remove carbon dioxide and collect oxygen. So, blood circulation. Circulatory system means that all the vessels through which the blood flows around the body. Blood enters. So this is the diagram of the heart. Let's label it first of all. This is the aorta. This is the vena cava. And this is the pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary vein. And then we have this side is the left side of the heart and this side is the right side of the heart. And then there is auricle and ventricle, auricle and ventricle. So here we say that's the right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle, left ventricle. So these are the 4 chambers of the heart. So blood enters both the right atrium through the vena cava. So through the vena cava, it enters the right atrium, which is this part here, and then it flows towards the right ventricle, and then at the same time the blood enters the pulmonary vein and it flows towards the left ventricle, left auricle, left ventricle, and then it flows upwards again to the left auricle. So blood enters both the right atrium through the vena cava and the left atrium through the pulmonary vein at the same time. This happens at the same time. And what type of blood enters the vena cava and the pulmonary vein? Deoxygenated blood enters the vena cava. Oxygenated blood enters the pulmonary vein. So let's write the function. Carry deoxygenated blood to the heart. And where do they get the deoxygenated blood from? They get it from the lungs. Sorry, pulmonary vein, they get it from the lungs. So vena cava carry deoxygenated blood to the heart, and they get it from all the different parts of the body, waste materials such as carbon dioxide, water vapor, etc. That's vena cava. Whereas pulmonary vein, they carry oxygenated blood. Sorry, they also carry deoxygenated blood to the heart. This is just an exception. Usually veins carry deoxygenated blood, and arteries carry oxygenated blood. But in this case, this pulmonary vein carries deoxygenated blood to the heart. Vena cava carries deoxygenated blood to the heart as well. So the right atrium and the left atrium contract at the same time. Atrium or auricle is the same thing. They contract at the same time to squeeze the blood into the ventricles, the right ventricle and the left ventricle. And the right ventricle contracts to force blood up into the pulmonary artery, into the lungs. Pulmonary artery carry pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood to the heart. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood to lungs, and that's why we say that's pulmonary. Pulmonary is anything related to the lungs. So pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood to lungs. Pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood to the heart. At the same time, the left ventricle contracts to force blood into the aorta, up into the aorta. So aorta is the longest blood vessel in our body, and it carries oxygenated blood. Around the body. So it carries to all the body organs. It transports oxygenated blood to all the different organs of the body. The first organ it transports to is the heart itself. So these blood vessels are known as coronary arteries, and they bring nutrients and oxygen to the heart. So both of these blood vessels, the pulmonary artery and the aorta, have valves to prevent the backflow. Obviously, that's the function of valves. Sometimes these valves in the heart can be leaky or faulty. It's quite a common surgical procedure to repair or replace these valves. When the aorta leaves the heart, the very first organ to receive blood from it through the artery is the heart itself. These arteries that bring nutrients and oxygen to the heart are called coronary arteries. When someone needs a bypass operation, it is because some or all of these arteries are blocked. The surgeon will take blood vessels from somewhere in the body, the legs or the arms, and insert them around the blockage. So this is about the blood circulation in our body. Very simple. This is the deoxygenated blood, and that's the oxygenated blood. Vena cava carry deoxygenated blood to the heart, and this deoxygenated blood comes from all the different parts of the body. So they get substances like carbon dioxide and water vapor, waste materials, to the heart, and then it goes up to the pulmonary artery, and pulmonary artery carries this deoxygenated blood to the lungs, where it is expelled from our body through the process of exhalation. And then pulmonary vein, it carries oxygenated blood to the heart, and it gets all the oxygen from the lungs, and then it goes up into the aorta, which carries oxygenated blood around the body. And then the first organ it transports to is the heart itself, and the arteries that supply the oxygen to the heart are known as coronary arteries. So the next thing we're going to look at is, why does exercise increase heart rate? So exercise requires energy. Exercise requires energy. We get the energy from respiration. Respiration is a release of energy from the food that we eat, and respiration needs oxygen. So that means that there is a greater pressure in the heart for the heart to pump more oxygen, because we need more oxygen while exercising, and that's why our heart rate increases when we exercise. So let's read what's in the book. Exercise requires energy. We get energy from respiration. Respiration needs oxygen. The more exercise done, the more energy required. Therefore, a greater rate of respiration needs more oxygen to the cells. Blood delivers oxygen to cells, so it needs to move faster in order to deliver enough oxygen for the increased level of respiration. Exact opposite is sleep. Sleep decreases our heart rate, and it causes the respiration rate to slow down in the cells. Therefore, the heart rate also slows down too. Now let's look at how the organs of the circulatory system interact or work with each other. So we've looked at arteries. They carry blood away from the heart. Veins carry blood to the heart. Capillaries, arteries and capillaries. Arteries are larger blood vessels, too big to get the near individual cells in the body. Arteries break up into smaller blood vessels called the capillaries. Whereas veins and capillaries come together and they join back together and they join up as a vein. So let's write this. Arteries divide into small blood vessels called the capillaries, whereas small capillaries whereas all these small capillaries, they join up together to form a vein. This is how the organs of the circulatory system interact with each other. How the organs of the circulatory system interact with the other systems, such as the digestive and the respiratory system. Food and oxygen are delivered to all organs of the systems of the body by the circulatory system. Waste such as carbon dioxide is removed from all the organs of the systems of the body by the circulatory system. The stomach and the small intestine have a greater number of blood vessels associated with them because food needs to be absorbed from these organs. So in this video, we've learned about the circulatory system. We've learned about the blood and why do we need the circulatory system in the first place, and the blood vessels, and we've learned about the formed elements, plasma, blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries, and the heart, the structure of the heart, and how blood circulation takes place, and exercise, why does exercise increase the heart rate, and how do the parts of the circulatory system work with the other parts of the circulatory system, and how do they work with the other systems in general, such as the digestive and the respiratory system. So in this video, we learned about the circulatory system.